It's good morning in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I am outside right now. Well, actually, I'm inside, but my solar scope is outside, and it is set up, and it is imaging the sun. So I thought I would share a live session imaging the sun to see what's going on up there. All right, let's bring up the sun. There we go. And this virtual hand controller is created using Ascon, the Ascon platform. When I open Cortez de Sul, which is the planetarium software that I prefer to use, when I open that up, by the way, I prefer to use it because it takes such little space compared to Sky Safari Pro or Starry Nights. And I'm not sure about Stellarium. I don't use Stellarium, but this software just takes very little memory, and my laptops that stay outside with at the observatory with these with my kits don't have an abundance of memory. So I'm going to move the sun over just a little bit. I think I need to go east. Nope. West. And let's do a little more west. And now let's go north. That'll bring it up and over. And I just want to go around the sun and see what's going on. And by the way, there are a number of dust bunnies and stuff that's accumulated on the optical train that right here, that's nothing. Down here at the bottom right, that's dust, and that's dirt. That's probably pretty close to the camera sensor because it's pretty precise. This, on the other hand, could be on the quark chromosphere. And so let's see, we went that way, we want to go this way. It'll take me a while before I figure out which direction the sun moves when I depress north. And okay, we have a spot. Good. Now I can tell it's a spot because it's moving with the sun while the other issues aren't. So let's go now east, bring it up a little bit, and let's just park it right there for a minute. One of the things that I like to do when I'm imaging the sun is I like to activate these crosshairs, and I'll just drag it and put it right on top of this sunspot. And my reason for doing that is that if I choose to do a time lapse, then if my target, if the sun moves out of the crosshairs center, then I can put it back, and so it enables stacking. It helps stacking when you're able to do this. I'm not really that in focus. I'm close, but I would like to see if I can improve. So I'm going to bring up my Moonlight controller and see if I can't pull off some. Hang on just one second. Pull off some closer focusing. I'm going to go in by 10 steps. I think it's a little better. I'm going to go in another 10 steps. It's really hard to tell. And part of the reason is there's so much thermal activity between my telescope and the sun. And what appears to be in focus sometimes, 5 minutes later, it's like, did I lose the focus? And it's normally just seeing conditions. And you can already tell that this spot is moving out of the crosshairs. So I think a little nudge north and east will help put it back. Okay. And so what I'm going to do, I'm using Sharp Cap. I know that Fire Capture has probably has gained the most popularity. It's just that I'm very comfortable with Sharp Cap, and so I just stay with it. My exposure is 14 milliseconds and change, and that allows me to collect frames down here at the bottom left at around 70 frames per second. I take 1,000 frames at a time. So, and also because of memory, I have an external hard drive that I have external hard drives for each of the outside laptops. There are 3 kits outside that are permanent, and all 3 have laptops that are designated just for that kit. That helps keep my COM port straight. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go to Quick Capture up here at the top, the header, and it's already set for 1,000 frames. So all I do is click on it, and down here at the bottom it's capturing. We're getting close to 500 frames now. At 71 frames per second, it knocks them off pretty quickly. And we have 1,000. But you already can see that I've lost my center. So I'm going to bring it back. And let's knock off another. The focusing already looks like it's I may have lost some focus, and again I really believe it's tied to scene. I'm surprised that clouds haven't entered the picture, because there are quite a few clouds out tonight or today. I want to show you something. Most people that are doing outside remote, I'm not that remote though, it's my backyard, but people that are doing remote usually have an outside camera, and I have one that points to the sky to kind of give me a reading on the clouds, and this one, here's some clouds here, and this one really is for the 3 telescopes. I said there are 3 telescopes that are permanent. Actually not quite the case. This is the solar scope that's in action right now, and I'm using the 65 EDQ. It's by Astrotech. It's a sweet little scope. It's great for this. On top, hang on just a minute, and I'll show you what I mean. On top is the Solar Scout, and the Solar Scout is a designated, it is a solar scope. It has what looks like a quark chromosphere that the camera attaches to, and the camera is an ASI 120 mono camera. The bottom, by the way, I don't have electronic focuser for the Solar Scout. These are made by Daystar, and I highly recommend them. It's a budget way of getting into solar photography and solar imaging. Now, the scope we're looking through right now is the 65 EDQ by Astrotech, and I do have a electronic focuser, Moonlight. Then there's an extension, and then there's the Quark Chromosphere by Daystar, and it's the hydrogen alpha filter that makes it possible for the very narrow hydrogen alpha band with photons to get to the sensor without frying it. And the camera is an ASI 173 mono camera. It happens to be cool because initially when I bought this camera, I was planning on using it for deep sky, but I was never really happy with the deep sky images that it took. So it's pretty much stays over here on this particular kit, and it works out pretty good. I have put the ASI 1600, but the frames per second is around 12, and I don't see that much of an improvement in the image. The files are larger though, so I'm happy with the 173, and I really am pleased with the 120. By the way, it's alive and it's imaging. Let's go ahead and turn it on. I have it kind of overexposed because I'm looking for I'll change the exposure down some. You'll see that I got a problem with Newton rings. Oh, I'm really not going to change the position of it, and you can tell there's flexure between that scope and the main scope because it's certainly not centered. These rings are called Newton's rings. And oh, I'm sorry, I haven't taken you back outside. Before we go outside, there's this tilt adapter on the top scope. This tilt adapter is attached to the camera, and I can adjust the tilt and get rid of the Newton rings. I just haven't done it. But let me take you outside now and show you the Newton rings. Again, as I mentioned earlier, when you couldn't see this screen, that the sun is not centered, and it is centered. Well, it's not centered in the other picture either, other camera either, but it's more visible. But these bands that go across are called Newton's rings, and they can be totally completely eliminated by either taking flats, which I'll do, or adjust the tilt mirror in this little device that goes right between the camera. It's kind of it's a ring that goes that's attached, and you can use screws to adjust the tilt of the sensor to the focal plane. Okay, let's go back to the sun, and let's go up and change cameras. Right now we're on the 120mm monochrome camera, and we're going to go to the 174. And I did change the no, I didn't. I thought I changed the exposure. We don't need to go outside, but you can see that we're off center. Incidentally, I have not polar lined this scope in forever. I've already forgotten which way's which. Okay, here we go. And let's get there, and then I think we can east our way back up to close to center. And now we're going to have to south our way back. I'm going to go around the rest of the sun in a minute, but I'm going to knock off another couple captures. Depending on what the clouds are doing this afternoon, I may come back and do a time lapse, because I didn't realize that I had this much activity on the sun. If I did a couple hour time lapse, and I have to stay with it when I do it, because probably about every 4 or 5 frames that I take are not frames but AVI files that I gather, I'm going to have to recenter. So it's 2 hours of sitting with this and babysitting, or I can take some time tonight, put the pole master on it and polar line it. What happens is that this scope, unlike the whoops, didn't want that. Actually, what I want is I want to go to this. these two telescopes are on piers, and so I can knock them out of polar alignment, but it's pretty hard. Each one is sitting on 3 cubic yards of concrete, so they're anchored pretty good. This one is a tripod that gets bumped, and I do use the Pole Master on it, and I'll get it polar aligned, and that really does help keep me centered. But this is not this is certainly not, none of these mounts are high end. They're what I call budget mounts for poor folk like me, and so you're going to have some tracking issues even when you're polar aligned. So were I doing a time lapse, I would address the Newton rings, and I have a few here I can see. I also have a tilt adapter on this. Let's go back to this. I have a tilt adapter on this as well, and they're very faint, but I can see some rings, Newton type rings. Let's go back up here. The reason why it's so slow to respond is backlash. Okay, let's knock off another 1,000. And when I finish doing this, I'm going to, let's go around the sun. And let's look at the surface, and let's look also to see if we have any proms, any flares. Okay, we're finished. So the first thing I want to do, note that my exposure is 14.1, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my exposure up and overexpose. Okay, good. We have a prom right here. It's coming off of the surface. So I want to take 500. I want to take capture 500 frames. Because I've raised the exposure, I'm only gathering now 11 frames per second. I don't know how far off the surface this is, but I would guess probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 150,000 miles. Didn't really need to bring that up. We're about to finish 500 frames. We're at 470 and counting. Now you notice I'm not moving my crosshairs. By the way, one of the mistakes you can make, if you double click anywhere on this with your mouse, you're going to move the crosshairs to that spot. I have done that so many times. So I try not to even touch the clicker button. I just hold the mouse unless I'm repositioning the camera. I'm going to take another one of these. I got to use the clicker button then. It does not look like these proms are moving, but if I did a 2-hour time lapse of these proms, it would blow your mind at what's happening. On my AstroBin page, I have some, I think I have some that are animated. Or is that my, it's probably my Facebook page that I've put up animated prominences. I may have them. I don't do much YouTube video. By the way, if you're nothing else to do, click that you like this and subscribe. I don't know that you'll learn a lot from me. I consider myself an advanced beginner. I've been doing this for 8 years, but we've had such few clear sky nights that I probably don't have 6 months of total time doing this hobby, and I'm learning. A shout out to all those people like Dylan O'Donnell and Trevor Jones and Adam Block, who's brilliant. I subscribe to Adam Block's channel, but I recommend anybody that's serious about astrophotography, particularly if you use PixInsight, that if you don't join his or take advantage of the videos that he puts out, wow, they're just, I've learned an incredible amount from him. Okay, we've got those images. Let's go ahead and go back to 14.1. We will probably have moved pretty far off target, which is okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the speed to 8 times sidereal. So we're going to move a little faster, and it's going up here, and no, I don't want to go that way. Let's go this way. And I don't think we solve anything of consequence, but let's go back up to well, I don't remember where we were. Let's just go on up and see if we got any other prominent prom activity. There's a stuff going around, but it's not worth imaging. Let's just leave this on right now, and let's continue to a little more. Okay. Still haven't got it right yet. This should do it. Alright. And now we got this. Is this up? Yeah. Okay, we don't have any proms right here. Let's go. None whatsoever. But let's go down to 14.1 and see if there's any activity. Nah. So let's see. South is up. No, south is that way. Let's go back, which is fine. Gosh, I'm dyslexic. Alright, let's pause right there. And I don't see anything big time. We can go ahead and turn that off so it stops bothering us. Let's go on up to 144 milliseconds. Ooh, we got us a prom down here. Oh, mercy. That we got a photograph. Liking this. This I need to come back this afternoon and do a wow, I'm blown away. I have to come back this afternoon and do a time lapse. This is arcing, and you're going to see all this going back and oh my goodness. Oh, this is going to ruin my day, because I had plans to leave here, and let me center or get this where I want it. Frame it up some. Okay, my goodness. Let's bring up our focuser, and let's see if 10 steps, maybe a little better. Ay, ay, ay. All right, let's take a quick capture. I do this. I'm not so I'm no longer interested in time-lapsing the sunspot and seeing the swirling around the time spot. I am interested in seeing this thing go crazy. Ay, 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 ay. Wow. I've been doing the sun for about 3 years, at least once a month, with this solar equipment, and only maybe a handful of times have I seen prominences that are what I feel like are jaw-dropping. My goodness, you could fit, since you can put 1,000,000 Earth-sized planets inside the sun, you could probably put 50 or 60 or 70 Earth-sized planets inside this solar flare. My. I will tell you that where this side of the sun facing Earth, we probably might not be here anymore. If we were aimed right at our planet. This is a doozy, guys. That one finished. Let's go ahead and click off another. I'm going to end up having to move my crosshairs to probably the center of this base prom, because this is going to last the longest. Over 2 hours, this whole thing here is going to change a great deal. Yeah, this is a schedule changer. I double yeah, double yeah. I might point out that Daystar makes a chromosphere, a hydrogen alpha filter that is suited better for the proms than the ones that I have. What I have is really for the sun's surface. In order to see prominences, you have to overexpose it. So when you overexpose, you lose the detail on the sun. Which means that if you're going to put an image together that shows the surface of the sun and the prominences, then you have to layer, you have to process each one independently. Then I go into Photoshop and I just layer this over the surface, and through a blending mode I eliminate this overexposed part, and all then you do see is the sun surface and the prom. Because these are mono images, I have to color it like I think it would be, which is just subjective. And I get some form of orangish yellow hue to it. And if you look at my sun pictures on my channel, nightsky.imager.com, you'll see they're all different colors, because I've never taken the time to sit down and write the luminosity of the blue, green, and yellow channel that I use to get the colors that I like. I need to do that so I'm consistent. Then they would all be the same color. I have all kinds of hindsight information. All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and move my crosshairs, because I'm not going to leave this prom. And I know I've already moved, but I'm going to set them right there, and I'm going to start knocking off captures, because I want to see this animated. I'm using a program called Ecamm Live to stream this, and I decided to stream live on YouTube. I haven't even looked at the YouTube channel to see if it's working. I may be talking to myself. That I've done before. By the way, while we're waiting for this to finish, click like and subscribe. And I am planning 4 videos in the next, this summer. I'm going to do some planetary imaging, and the reason why I am is because I'm not good at it, and I want to improve. And I'm thinking that if some of you all could throw suggestions my way, that could be helpful for me and maybe others. So another quick capture. I'm going to do several on PixInsight. So if you happen to use PixInsight to process your deep space, galaxies, nebula, objects, and I'm going to do one using Photoshop, from soup to nuts, how to process an image using Photoshop. I'm also going to do some using Deep Sky Stacker. If I knew enough about AutoStackered and RegiStacks, I would do one on that. I get by. I just use usually default settings, and I've watched a number of tutorials, like so many. Thank all the guys that put those tutorials up. A while ago I was thanking Adam Block and Dylan O'Donnell and Chuck Ayub from Chuck Astrophotography, Sean Nielsen from Visible Dark. He's brilliant. Learned so much from him, and I appreciate him. We're going to do some recentering right now, and I've already forgotten which way is which. I'm gambling. Well, we're going west, and that was too much, so let's try. Wish this was intuitive, and it's just the opposite of being intuitive. North is moving it up. Went too far. Alright, now let's try east. Too far. Let's go west. You can see I'm a rattle trap here. Come on, west. Backlash is haunting me. Alright. Let's stop there and quick one, knock one off. You can see now when I'm talking about the crosshairs, because the sun is moving out of frame. And although AutoStacker does a brilliant job of allowing you to pick the percentage of pictures or the number of pictures that you want to stack, and AutoStacker provides you a histogram that shows you what percent are above 50% or below, and it gives you a kind of a guideline as to how you should select that. And you can also scrub through your images to see if you have a reference image that's better than another. Set your anchor points up and down this the surface, and all over here. You don't need to set anchor points anywhere in the sun. And then stack, and it does a pretty good job. And then of course RegiStacks wavelets, and I use some other software, IMPG I think it is, for the time lapse, and PIPP something I can't remember. Ought to do a YouTube on how I do the time lapses. Alright, I already forgot how to move back. Let's see, I think it's east. Nope. Should have thought west. And then south. Nope. Way I hope you can remember that when I first started doing the time lapse, that this was almost a complete continuation of a flare, and there's some separation right here that's already started, so that'll show up in the time lapse. Let's knock it off. Stop talking. Okay, it's already moved a good bit. That is a wowzer prominence, arcing. It's magnetism. It's the sun's magnetic field that's pulling all this back to the surface. Found out something the other day, that the sun reverses polarity every 11 years. That's the reason why there's 11-year cycles in when you have more solar activity during that 11-year cycle than at other times. Again, if you're just joining us, this is a live view of the surface of the sun, and I've been taking images. I'm about to finish. I just finished. I've been taking images of the prominence. I think I have about 7 images so far. If I can gather around 100 images, I can put together a GIF file that will show some of the movement of this solar prominence and the gravity, the magnetism that's pulling it back to the sun. I'm at 275 frames and counting. Again, when you raise, one of the things that I could do, and I'll show you, well, I won't either. One of the things that I could do, you see I have my gain set to 59. I could increase the frame rate by raising the gain. I'm going to show you when I stop, but I don't want to raise the gain. When you raise the gain, you lose some of your, you add noise, you add grain to your image, and I like to use as little as possible. Okay, I could raise the gain to say 200, and then I could drop my exposure down to say 28, and now I'm at 34 frames per second. I got to move back west a little bit, I think, and south. Nope, north. East and south. Actually, I see the grain in it, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at that. I'll knock off more frames. I'm at 34 frames per second, so let's go ahead and do a quick capture. I've already knocked off. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go from 200 to 140, and I'm going to bring the exposure up. Oh, don't need to go there. Okay. Okay, knock off another one. I'm at 23 frames per second now. You can play around with this, and you really don't want to raise your gain too high because the grain really just screws up the sky, and you're dealing with some delicate photons here. So from experience, I like to keep the gain under 100 whenever I'm doing anything, and as low as possible with a frame rate that as long as my mount's staying pretty centered, it just takes longer to get the pictures you want, but I'll wait to get better signal. Click off another. If you're paying attention now to this prominence and all the activity it's created, Again, this is the magnetic field of the sun that's causing this arcing and pulling it back to the sun. But these explosions are jetting hundreds of thousands of miles off the sun's surface, and gracious. These are as good as you see with a quark chromosphere. Let's do another. I do a little pause between the time lapses. You can actually program sharp cap. When you go up to capture, you can I'll wait till it's done, so I'll show you. You can click on start capture, and here's where you can do a number of frames, say 1,000 if you're doing the prominence, or 500 if you're doing the surface, 500 if you're doing prominence is what I would use. Then you can do a series, and you can have, say you want this to last for 2 hours, and the interval between pictures you may want to have a 5-second delay or a 10-second delay. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing 500 pictures, I'll have about a 10-second delay. If I'm doing 1,000, I'll have about a 20-second delay. And the reason why is that sometimes I have to buffer save these pictures, and it takes longer than others. These are not powered external hard drives I'm saving to. But you can have, say you want to do 200 images, you can do that with 5-second delays between images. Set the number of frames, the time limit. Or in the case of what I'm doing right now, just do a quick capture. Auto Stacker's going to have to work here to stack this because I've moved off center. Alright. You know what I gotta do? I gotta come back to 4 times sidereal because I'm too sensitive. Alright, let's knock off another 1,000 or 500 frames. Again, I'm imaging the sun's surface, and I'm going to keep these crosshairs alone here. I'm not going to move them, but I'm going to wind this video down. It's been on quite a while, and I will put the finished video up let's do one more, and then we'll come back and let's knock another one off. Again, if you haven't selected to like this video and or subscribe, I have no I don't think I'll ever add enough content to monetize this channel, but if I know it's helping somebody, then that makes me feel good, because I sure appreciate the people who have put up video content after Trevor, Dylan, Adam, Warren Keller. Oh, there's a lot to thank. I miss them. Peter Zelenka. Like most of you, I started out using a DSLR. I am retired in financial planning, of all things, and amateur photographer, and kind of started a sports photography business. Now I work for a high school that has close to 4,000 students and do all their photography. And my son sent me a telescope in 2008, a very nice Vixen ED81S. And I didn't do anything with it for a while, had some hip surgery and was kind of laid up, and I decided to take it out. I saw the moon through an eyepiece, and my jaw dropped. I said, I got to figure out how to put a camera on. I started Googling how you do that. Got a T adapter, put it on a Nikon, started taking pictures, and the rest is how do you spend your money on nothing? It works. I kid my wife, I might as well have my Social Security check direct deposited to High Point Scientific. Well, I have really got this thing really off. Which is fine, because I want to go ahead and move around the, this got delayed. I don't want to change the crosshairs so I can come back to this prom, but I do want to, let's go on around here and see if there's anything else crazy going on. Alright, and then we need to, and while I'm here, I'm going to go down to 24 and down to, yeah, I want to see if there's anything on the surface. Okay, let's go back up to 140 and let's continue to wrong way. I've gone the wrong way every single time. I haven't hit it right yet. What I'll do, and should have done it already, is I will take a little one of these little what do they call them, little tabs, sticky tabs, and I will draw the compass, and I'll put arrows which way it takes me. We have a slight problem evolving down here in this corner. It's time to go up. I may get this one right. Okay. We were over here doing, I was impressed with this mess. And it is, that's a, wow. That is some major work going on there. My goodness. It's all up and down the rim. And if you remember, let me bring it back a little bit. And if you remember, let's drop this down to, the gain down again to, and we had a sunspot here. So this will actually make the best picture if I go ahead and do a time lapse of this, and then I do a time lapse of that, and then I'll layer both videos on top of each other. That will make a much better, that'll make a better gift. Can't believe that I get a Lenovo request to update. Okay, folks, I think I'm going to sign off. Again, we've been live imaging the sun this morning. It's June the 15th, 2021. I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the United States, southeastern part of the United States. It is it's going to be close to 90 degrees today here, and I've been imaging the sun. We have quite a few clouds out, but they have stayed away, and thankful for that during this live imaging session. Once again, I'm going to I tell you one other thing I'm going to do before I sign off. I'm going to move this to the center. I'm going to fill the whole frame with the sun. And I'm going to take some flats. I actually like to get that dark out there. Okay, right here. Okay, you notice that we got all this dust spots. I want to lower the exposure a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. Then I'm going to bring up my focuser, and I'm going to defocus by say 300 steps. I'm going to move the focuser in 300 steps. Let's do some more. Let's move it in. I'll move it back out again. I'm not sure my focusers. There we go. Finally. And then you see all of the dust. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I'm going to call this sun flat. And I'm going to take a 500 clip of this. And this will be my flat frame. And then when I process an auto stacker, I will save this. I'll bring this one up first, and immediately I save it as a calibrated flat frame. Then I'll bring up my image, my AVI file of the sun, and I'll load this calibrated flat frame, and it will remove all these dust spots and optical imperfections from my image. And we're done. We've got that. And so let me bring my focuser back up. Let's go out 1,000. Or yeah, go out. We went in. Let's go out another 1,000. I think my focuser's slipping. I'm pretty sure it is. At any rate, that's fine. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. While we're on this, I'm going to turn this camera off. No, I don't want to lose these points. I'm coming back to do a time lapse. Hang on a minute. I don't want to do that. But let me get rid of that. Okay, I'm going to bring up Auto Stacker. I hope I have it loaded on. Yeah, I do on this laptop. And I'm going to open up. See, I did the moon last night. I was trying to do some imaging, but it was just a miserable flop. This is the flat frame. I'm not going to analyze it. I don't do anything. I just go to image calibration and create a, I'm just going to call this a master flat. And I'm going to go to my external hard drive and save it there. And it's just master flat. It's a TIFF file. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my images. And I'm going to go to let's see. Let's do one of the sunspots. Just pick one. This is 33. No, we did a prom there. Let's do a sunspot. I'm not worried about the. Actually, let's don't even do that one. Let's go back to the sunspot. That's got to be one of these. Okay, and that's fine. I have the box. Let's go. I'll center the box right there. Now you see all these imperfections that I was talking about. Well, I'm going to go to image calibration and I'm going to load the master flat. And there it is. Now watch them go away. Voila. So those dust spots are now gone. And you can do the same thing for those Newton rings if you have them. But I would recommend getting the tilt adapter. We're doing the surface. We want to improve tracking, global, almost all right. We don't want to double stack the reference. Let's go ahead and analyze. And it's going to run its course. By the way, when I go back and start doing multiple images of the prominence that we've been looking at, you don't have to do each prominence in and of itself. You can open all of the prominence issues at images at one time, AVI files at one time, and this will batch do those. Now I do use PixInsight to do everything else. And then I animate them in IMPEG or IMPPG, or it might be over here. It might be, I don't think it's on this laptop. This might be it. Or this might be it. Yeah, IMPPG. This is the software that helps to animate them. I don't remember what that is. This iMac's 4 years old and it's slow. Actually, it's not the iMac, it's the Lenovo laptop. It's slower. I can grow a beard waiting for some of these processes to stop. But we've gone this far. Okay, so right now this green line crosses the 50%, the mean right here, which means that about 35%, 30% of my images are below this 50% line, which also means that about 65% are above it. So let's just take the top 50%. of the frames, which I did 1,000 frames, so that's 500. And let's do the top 500 frames and stack those. Now I could have scrubbed through looking for a better, sharper reference frame, but I've done that, and actually I've never seen that it really helps all that much. But at any rate, there are folks that swear by it. Let's try 104 points on the grid, and I like it. And let's stack. So what this is going to do now, and it's going to take a little time, it's going to take the top 50% or 500 frames, and it's going to stack them together in a TIFF file. And then I'm going to take the TIFF file into RegiStacks, and you'll see how little I know about both this and RegiStacks. Again, I just use the defaults. Emil Graycamp did a about an hour and a half or 2 hour presentation on Woodland Hills astronomy, and I highly recommend going to Woodland Hills at their presentations and watch his presentation on SharpCap. I'm not on SharpCap, but on AutoStackered, and he's coming out with the new AutoStackered. And gracious, if it has all the bells and whistles that he's talked about, it's going to be awesome. I need to check. It was back in before Christmas that he did his presentation, and he said he was hoping to have it out right after Christmas. It may be out and I don't know it. I do such little. I take the AVI files, but I image the sun, but more often than not, I don't do anything with the data. I'll wait to clear sky nights, to cloudy nights, and sometimes play around with it. But unless it's something really remarkable, like the prominences that we were looking at a while ago on the other side of the sun, no, that's worth working for. This would be pretty good too. A time lapse of this sunspot, because there's a lot of swirling going on in and out of this sunspot that you can't see with a single image. Okay, we're finished with that. Let's bring up RegiStacks. And aren't you thankful for Emil and those people who have created SharpCap? Although you pay for the pro version, it's well worth it. It's so inexpensive. And Emil for coming up with AutoStackered and RegiStacks. What would we do without it? Without this stuff? Well, I wouldn't know what to do. I sure wouldn't fix it my own. Okay, let's go to tell I'm not a Windows user. All right, we don't want the moon. Let's just go back here. I want TIFF. Okay, we want to go to the sun. Here's our TIFF file. Nope, we don't want to stretch. I don't even know why I select that. I just other folks recommend it. I'm going to click on show full image. Now I have saved some presets where I can load presets. Well, I don't know where they are. There's one for the sun, but I have saved some. I guess I don't use this laptop when I do it. I use the Windows one here in my office. Okay, well, what I want to start out with is I'm going to take the number 4 wavelet slider, and by the way, let me show the processing area. It's right in here. It just happenstance that it was right in there, and I'm going to sharpen, take it up to 120, I'm going to come back to 110. Alright, I'm going to move this slide. Actually, I'm going to back this off a little bit. And actually some more. I don't think it moved. Okay, I'm going to bring this slider up just a tad. I'm going to add sharpening to this. Let's say 110. I'm going to bring this up. And I have a feeling that we're looking at larger global areas all the way down to the finite, but I don't know that. And some of those of you who are really familiar with the software, I would love to know exactly what is the difference between processing layer 1 and processing layer 6 if it's not going from finite to a more global, larger scale changes. But you just play around with it until you get, and that's all I've done, something that doesn't look overdone. I may bring this up some and view zoom. Okay, and I'm going to add a little denoise here where I really added sharpening. And I'm going to add a little more sharpening. And let's bring this up a little bit. Let's bring this up a little bit. And let's move this slider a tad bit. For a little detail. A little bit more, not much. Okay. And let's add some sharpening to that layer. Let's add some noise reduction to that layer. Okay, let's do all. And there you have it. I'll save the image. And all this means is that it's ready for Photoshop, and I'll save it. I do want to save it though as a TIFF file, and it's ready for Photoshop. And this is where I'll take it into Photoshop, and I will sometimes add sharpening using the high pass filter, but I don't think I'll add anything else to this. Probably have over sharpened it somewhat here. You can go ahead and you can effectively add color to these images. You can add curves to these images, but everything else that I choose to do from this point forward will be in Photoshop. Okay, well my friends, it's been a delight doing some imaging of the sun today, and I'm going to return to I'm going to return to the sun. I'm going to go out and make sure my focuser is hasn't moved, and I'm going to refocus, go back to these crosshairs where I'll move the sun to this crosshairs and be back on, and my prominence, and I'm going to start redoing my time lapse. So thank you for watching. Again, if you'll subscribe to my channel and click like, I'll know that you'd like to see more of this sort of stuff and hear my ramblings. Have a great rest of the week, and clear skies to everybody.